Same. I'm with
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
Pineapple.
Hi, buddy.
To the drawer sometimes. They're just having the time of my life.
Instagram pictures are together.
Oh my gosh.
Is that a Thundercat?
Technology.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Oh no.
Buddy.
We never doubted on one.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Hey everybody, welcome in to the Launchpad Reseller Podcast, Season 2, where we are joined by Sean Spines in Bob's absence. I was not left alone today, unsupervised. Thank you, Sean, for stepping in tonight. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
And we also have Tallgirlpicker, Allie. Welcome in. This is the Allie and Ellie show.
Thank you.
Nice
Glad to be here. Right, I know. I like it.
I have a little bit of an introduction. I'm going to try to do the Bob thing. I know he says to wing it, but I prepared a little something. So here we go. Tonight we're joined by a full-time reseller who lives by truly the idea that knowledge is money. She knows a little bit about a lot of things, everything from vintage glass and decor to unexpected treasures that some people might walk past. And she's built a very engaging community on Facebook for the reseller content. We have a reseller, an educator, and a creator. Welcome, Allie, Tallgirlpicker. Thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yes. Okay. I don't have an icebreaker, which Bob usually likes to do, but we usually just start with kind of asking you to tell us how you got into reselling, how it all started, how long you've been reselling, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, I've had, reselling is kind of in my blood. My family is built on entrepreneurship. My mom, my grandfather, we go way back. But I kind of got stuck in the corporate grind for a lot of years. Most recently, I was a sales manager in a big corporation, telecommunications corporation. And that was great until it wasn't. It actually had been family owned when I started there, which that's the part that was really great. And when it was taken over by a corporation, when the family retired and sold to the corporate entity, that's when I really noticed a shift for me and, my level of satisfaction and happiness. Even though, I got promotions and things like that and started making more money and all of, it was just so stressful. And, if you didn't drink the corporate Kool-Aid, then you weren't going to last. And I'm not particularly fond of corporate Kool-Aid, so.
Not a good flavor.
Right, it's not my flavor. So, So December of 2024 is when I just jumped the corporate ship, and I had already been kind of planning and preparing. I knew that I wanted to do reselling. I had been, watching a bunch of videos, just absorbing as much content as I could and learning about it. And it really started with me watching all the other people's content and asking myself the question, why not me? Why can't I do that? And then just, having enough confidence or stupidity, I'm not sure, to just jump in and do it. And so, I resigned and jumped in full time. I did have a safety net to fall back on. I wasn't under the illusion or delusion that I was going to immediately make enough income to support myself on, reselling. So I did have some money saved up, and um, I really just dove into it and immediately loved it. I continued to and still continue to watch other people's content, learn about other things. I would say that's, one of the biggest ways that I have learned about, what to look for, and how to do what we do, has been by learning from others. I try to share useful information that I've learned along the way as well. Um, so since December 2024, so not even 2 years, I've been doing it. Um, and I have been blessed with, just kind of a natural eye for things, but
Mhm.
also a really good memory. I think, there's some neurodivergence in my family, which seems to be a very common trait among resellers. And I have that innate ability to remember everything that I've seen or everything that I've bought or that I've sold, and, how much and what it can go for. And, can't remember what I ate this morning, but I can remember what I sold, 2 months ago and how much I paid for it and how much it sold for. So, you know, go
Yeah,
figure.
it's a hyper focus thing. I get it.
Yeah. And so, um, it's just been a blast. I love it. Still, there's not every part of it do I love, but, and I work way harder now, than I ever did in my corporate job. And I was, one of those salary, 50 to 70 hour a week, employees.
Wow.
And, but it doesn't feel like work now, it's
Mm.
so much fun. I really enjoy it. And then last year, technically, I created my Facebook page in August, but I didn't really start working it until October. So that hasn't even been a year. I'm coming up on the year anniversary of when I created the page, but I didn't really start doing anything with it until October. And, I think I maybe had a couple hundred followers at the beginning of October. And that was another thing that I was like, I've been watching all these other content creators do this. Why not me?
Yeah, I
Why
like
can't I create a page, And so, same concept, I just was like, well, let's give it a try and see what happens. And so I did. And, now here I am, not even a year into the content creation journey. And 16,000 followers later, and, got monetized pretty quickly, and, making it another additional income stream there as well. So, it's not huge. I'm not the largest one out there. I'm not the biggest and best of anything, but I'm having fun with it. I enjoy it. And I'm really glad that I took the leap.
I
So,
love that. Yeah, I've been
yeah.
following along your content. I think I mentioned before we were live about 6 months or since about January, February, and so I follow along, and that's you've got a good page going. You've got a lot. Not only are people interacting with you, but I've seen you out there also interacting with the community. So I think that's really important. But before we go a little more down that road, you had mentioned that your parents were like entrepreneurs. This is kind of in your blood. How did that look like before to shape? And then how long were you in corporate? So how does that kind of look?
So the corporate, my last job, I was there for 9 years, over 9 years. And yeah, like I said in the beginning, so I really stuck it out. I really tried to make it work.
Yeah.
The first about 5 years of that was where it was still family owned. And the last 4 years, so it wasn't just immediate as soon as it went corporate that I jumped ship. I still stayed for another 4 years.
Yeah.
I really did give it my all, to
You
try to
tried.
stick with it. And but as far as my family goes, I always had a really good example in my mom. So my mom lives right next door to me. I'm blessed to have her. We live very close,
That's
right next
awesome.
door.
Mhm.
She is a retired nurse, but she sold on eBay when eBay very first started. That's how she put herself through nursing school.
Oh,
Prior to that, she owned her own business. She's always done something on the side. Prior to that, when I was a little kid, she was sewing things and selling things, that she would sew. And, she's always done something like that, right? And so I grew up seeing her always have some kind of hustle. And she learned that from my grandpa, who was a, insurance salesman. And he, prior to that, worked on the railroad. And then he ended up owning his own liquor store. And, just like I said, it's in our blood.
yeah, definitely. I can see that.
And so, I had a really good example and also learned a lot from my mom about selling on eBay because again, she started doing it back when people were mailing in checks and you had to wait for the check to clear.
Yeah.
You know, it was funny because I actually told her about eBay. She was struggling, struggling single mom at the time, and she, didn't know what she was going to do. And I was like, hey, mom, I heard about this thing called eBay, like you should check this out. And she was like, what's that? And she primarily sold clothing. She loved to shop and thrift and, find clothing. And that was her, always has been her focus. So she put herself through school, went and did her nursing career. She stopped selling on eBay because, if you're a nurse, that's all you can do. Really. I mean, she just focused on that when she was a nurse. But then she retired a few years ago and she started up her eBay again. And, just that was her retirement gig, and so I got to hear all the stories and see how she did everything and how she had everything set up and I just don't like clothes. So
Same.
I'm like, I have such a block when it comes to clothes. And also, we would go sourcing together, and I didn't want to be competing with my mom. So
Mm.
it worked out really, we were a really good team. We'd go to sales and thrift stores and wherever, and she would go to the clothes, and I would go to everything else.
I love that. We've got a comment here I want to pull up just because I love this. On the Hunt with Jen said, I remember those days. My mom and aunt are OG eBay sellers. I love that. They used to always talk about waiting for their checks to clear.
Yes.
Man, we live in
Yes.
a different world.
Right.
We live in a different
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
I love that.
I
Sean, do you have?
can't see the comments unless you put them up there on the screen. I'm not seeing them, so you'll have to tell me if
Yeah,
anybody.
yeah. I'll pull them up. I put Jen's comment. She said hi earlier, so I'll put them up as I see them.
My favorite question to ask anytime someone's a full-time seller, and I always ask this selfishly because I want to make myself better and more efficient.
Yeah.
What's your daily routine look like as a full-time reseller? Like from getting up to when you're done working, and what kind of hours do you put in? And I'm
Yeah.
always curious to hear other people's routine to see how I can improve on my own routine. So what's your daily
Well,
routine look like?
well, I look at you, Sean, as like your goals. Okay, so, but,
Well said.
right. But I mean, that's the thing. We can always learn from everybody. Anybody can learn from anybody. I believe that
Absolutely.
truly. Um, so getting up at a reasonable time, although being in of the age that I am in, sleep comes hard these days. So sometimes it's a little later than it should be. But getting up at a reasonable time, getting started. First thing out of the day is, well, first it's always coffee. Okay. Always coffee. Getting packages ready. So getting my package, going through, picking, pulling my inventory that's sold, getting, making sure my labels are printed, and getting everything packed up from the day before. I do have like 2 day, so I have 2 day handling on my eBay, but I always try to ship the next day if I can. Um, so day before sales, getting those all packed up and ready. Um, usually then depending on the day of the week, so if it's mid to late week, I'm going to be checking ads, making sure I know about any sales that are happening, and any neighborhood sales, any church sales, checking marketplace for anything going on there. um, I do that the night before as well, but a lot of times people don't post those until the morning of, so I'm always checking in the morning as well, so doing some research there. uh, Also getting my content, where I need to be with my content. So the spending some time on the content, doing some engagement. Um, I've at this point in the morning, about mid morning, I've already scheduled all my posts for the day the night before. So everything's already posting, but I'm still going in and I'm, engaging on the content. I'm going onto other people's pages and making sure I'm giving some love too. Um, and then it's usually about between like 11 to noon. It's time to hit the thrift store for the first round of new carts. So, unless of course it's the day of the week when there's a sale. So a sale can throw a monkey wrench in that whole thing that I just said. So, but on a typical day when there's not a sale, that's, start off with the thrift store, hit the new carts, take, video some content while I'm there, um, get to the post office, drop off packages, get back home, start um, gathering for listing, figuring out what I'm going to list, doing some more engagement on my page. um, Sometimes a couple days a week I go live with my buddy Walt on his TikTok, and we do our lives, and so I've got to prep for that as well. um, Figuring out when I'm going to list. Do I do it now or do I do it when I get back from my second round at the thrift store? Because there's a couple different, usually two, sometimes three rounds at the thrift store where they bring out new carts. I have a really good thrift store that has pretty decent prices. And so when there's not a sales, yard sales, estate sales, and all of that going on, that's where I'm, headed to, because that's also what I'm using for my content as well. So it's a double, I'm double dipping there when I'm going and sourcing. um, the conception or perception that I've heard a lot of people is they think that just because I post a video of it means I bought it, and that's not always the case. In fact, most of the time it's not.
Yeah, something interesting, right?
Right? It's like, just because you see, I just had this conversation with a family member the other day who watches my videos, and she was like, well, you sure do buy a lot. Are you selling all that? And I'm like, actually, I don't buy that much. I'm very picky about what I bring home now.
Yeah, it adds up fast.
So,
Do you have a
yeah.
listing goal per day, or how is that work?
My my listing goal has in the past has been 5 a day, 5 items a day, but
Mhm.
I've been watching Sean and Bevo and hearing my buddy Bevo and hearing them talking about having a money amount for a goal versus a number of items. And I'm leaning towards, trying to push myself in that direction instead of just a number of items per day. So
Yeah.
um, I don't always meet my goal too. I'm here to tell everybody like I don't do it all right. I don't get it right all the time. I don't get something listed every single day. Every single day. I'm not perfect. I make mistakes.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm a big believer in doing what works for you too. So, and I'm one person, so I don't have any help, single mom, working with kind of limited space, and, just being one person. So, there's oftentimes, I mean, I'm doing something reseller or content related from basically the time I wake up until I'm in bed, usually scheduling my posts for the next day. So, you know, now there's family stuff in there mixed in there, and that's the freedom. I love the freedom that we have. That if somebody needs something, I can just stop and go do what needs to be done and handle it. But it definitely, like I said, I work way more hours now than I ever used to. So, um, but to answer, more specifically your question, Sean, like that's a general idea on a day when there's not an estate sale or there's not a big neighborhood sale or whatever. If there's some big sale, that whole morning is gone with that, because I'm going to start as early as I possibly can and hit the rounds with the sales, yard sales, church sales, estate sales, and all of that, and get all of that, so I have to plan for that the day before, get my packages ready the night before, have everything in my car ready to go for that, and, make adjustments as I go.
I'm reading a comment here. Let me add it to the screen real quick. Jen says, I wish I could list consistently. I try so hard, but instead of being in control of my day controls me. It's usually my kids' things controlling my day. Jen.
Yep. I feel that too.
Because I have 4 kids, so I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I try very hard to list daily on Sean's suggestions to just keep that algorithm going, right?
Yeah.
Guilty sometimes too. Yesterday, I only listed a couple things because I was just busy. It was Sunday, and my stuff's not at home, so I have to make a special trip on a Sunday if I want to list on the Sunday. Now I caught up and I list double the day, so I made up for yesterday. But even I'm guilty of sometimes not listing my entire listing goal every single day. So it's not just you guys. I do it sometimes myself. So.
Well, that's good to hear.
I'll be less hard on myself when I reach your kind of goals.
Right.
Are you cross-listing at all, Allie?
Am I what?
Cross-listing? Are you listing to other platforms, or are you just on eBay?
I am primarily eBay. I do have a few things over on Mercari. So when I found out that you can't I also sell like colognes and perfumes and things like that. And I didn't know that you couldn't put used colognes and perfumes on eBay. So when I first started, and then I found out, got a nice little violation and freaked out and took everything down and went over to Mercari and put all of that stuff over there. That's kind of like my next phase. I feel like I am almost there as far as ready to start doing the cross listing thing. I've heard a lot of people say, that's where it's at. That's how you level up. That's, the next big thing to do, and I hear it. And also, I know it's going to, I need to get a better handle on my inventory system before I'm going to feel comfortable moving to that. But I want to. So that's my next step, get my inventory system fine-tuned, and then start the cross listing. So I also have 2 vintage booths as well. So locally here in my town, I have pretty decent sized booths in an antique mall. So they say antique mall, but it's really a vintage mall.
Well, when you're ready, I'm going to pitch Nifty at you, one of the best cross-listing platforms there are. You can cross-list to, I believe, 6 different marketplaces, and it's really good for organization, super easy to import, and also keep track of that inventory, which I think I'm doing basically what you said, Sean, in a previous episode, is to just put it in the SKU, the SKU number. So that's how I'm kind of keeping track of it, and it's like stupid simple. I'm like, that's all you do.
Yeah.
So code Rocket City for Nifty, 20% off if you use that code.
Nice.
That's for everyone.
I know. That's for sure. I'm planning to go with Nifty when I'm ready to make that jump. I've heard a lot of people talk about a lot of different ones, and over again, that seems to be the one that everybody says is the best. So that's definitely definitely my plan. So it's just getting there. It's a little bit daunting.
Yeah,
it feels
I
daunting.
started mine in May, so I get you. What size store are we dealing with here? That
I think I currently have 860 something
Oh,
listings.
you're getting up. Yeah, girl. Yes.
Yeah,
Do it.
right. I know. And I would say probably 75% of that is vintage. So I know that I need to get on Etsy. I know, like
You'd
I
also
know, I
kill it
know.
on Poshmark as well. I sell a lot of like my estate kind of items, some of those vintage
Yeah.
items. They always sell on Poshmark really well too. So
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I
Yeah.
mean, I think I've been seeing increase in sales across the board again. I just started in May, so I think my store is like 300 or something. Jen is asking, does Nifty have photo room built in with the bulk photos feature? Is it photo room? I think it is, that you can like white out the backgrounds in there.
I don't know the exact name. It does have some kind of background removal in there, but I
I
personally
believe
don't
it is
use it.
photo room, but I'm not sure if it's that. I use it every once in a
Yeah.
while. If I have like a large item and I don't like my background or something.
I shoot on a white background, so I don't use any of the background removal tools because my background's already white. So
Yeah, it
do.
I'm
just
not
you
I'm not
like
the guy to ask about that kind of stuff.
I do that too, Sean.
Yeah.
Everything
just
is yeah.
see. I take pictures whenever I get the chance. So if that means that I might be on my bed or floor or something, like I'm squeezing it in there. So
Yeah.
I like the photo room option. um,
My suggestion is soon as you get your inventory SKU system, because this is a mistake I made. I waited too long to start cross listing. I got a little
Yeah.
over 7,000 listings, and only about half my items are cross listed because I started cross listing so late that I
Yeah.
still can't even catch up. I get all my new stuff cross listed by going back and getting my backlog cross listed. I'm only have the time to do so many a day, and so I'm
Right.
still not completely cross listed. I wish I would have just
Done it from the
gotten in shape
beginning.
and started right away.
Yeah. Well, I'm currently also trying to purge out. So I've kind of switched my model. I used to list. When I look back at what I was listing, a year to a year and a half ago, I'm like, what was I thinking? So there's so many things that are still on there from older listings that I just I'm trying to, like, anything basically about $25 to $30 or less. I want it out. I don't want it on my eBay store anymore. I'm trying to keep my inventory at 25 plus. My booth does really well with that under 25 stuff. So, I can pull all that stuff, throw it in the booth. If it doesn't sell there in a month or two, then it goes away. At that point, it just goes away.
I utilize the same strategy. All my like either big and bulky, breakable, or under $20 stuff goes to my booth, and
Yep.
I can just keep lowering the price till it's gone because at that point I just want it gone anyway. So
Right.
I
Right.
utilize the exact same strategy, and I keep a booth just for that reason. So I get
Yeah.
it completely.
I
Yeah.
love
That-
that.
So,
I
yeah.
see where Jen in the comments said that she sells more hard goods on Poshmark than clothes, and Poshmark's my second biggest platform, and I don't even sell. I sell a rare piece of clothing every once in a while, but the day I
Yeah.
sold a HVAC blower motor on Poshmark.
Wow.
Wow.
This eligible. I have it listed under the electronics other category, and I sold an $80 HVAC blower motor on Poshmark. So if
Well,
you're
dang.
worried about only selling clothes, I mean,
Yeah,
if
I
you
was
don't sell
gonna
clothes,
say.
it's not
Yeah.
worth cross listing. Other stuff
It,
sells on Poshmark all the time. It's my second best platform. So.
That's good to know. Yeah, because I didn't think of that for. I thought Poshmark was mainly clothes, and the only thing I will mess with as far as clothing goes is Carhartt and other workwear type stuff. My mom doesn't want to. She doesn't like to list those things, and I'm like, give me all the Carhartt. I've sold a bunch of Carhartt, so.
And you're like, yes.
Yeah, $400 jacket. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Yep, that'll do. Can you
So.
tell us a little bit more about your booths? I'm interested. You said you have 2 booths. How, like,
Yeah.
are we? Yeah, tell us about that.
I love it. What I love about it, okay, so my inventory room is just kind of mayhem, like especially because I'm not super organized. I told myself I'll remember where everything is. 800 and
In
something
there.
items later, now it's like I actually do still do a pretty good job of remembering where stuff is. However, there have been the occasional lost items. Um, so, but basically it's some things are like this is the area where all the Christmas stuff is, and this is the area where the toys are, and this is the area where that kind of organization is kind of happening, but not all of it. Sometimes it's where it's going to fit, that's where it's going to go. And so it doesn't look pretty, you know.
I don't think that it
And
has to be for a booth. I don't think that it has to be. Sometimes the
oh
thrill of
no,
the hunt.
that's what I'm talking about is my actual inventory room
Oh, your inventory.
in my home. And so on contrast, then my booth, I get to make it look pretty, and I go in there and spend, I go in probably a couple times a week or more sometimes, especially if things were really moving, it's been busy, I'll go in more than that. And I really like that little kind of creative outlet of making it look nice because I don't have that at home going on with my inventory. And so being able to take things in there and kind of curate how it looks. And, this is the area where I have all the kitchen stuff, and I've got my Pyrex wall and I've got some canisters and some cool, kitchen gadgets and things like that. And then, anyway, the creative in me appreciates being able to kind of make that look nice, in the booth. So I've been in there for it's a very large, huge antique mall in my town. The biggest one in the town. There was a very long waiting list, and I got really, really lucky and got a spot pretty quickly, basically because I was the first one to answer the phone. And she told me when I signed up, she's like, the list is very long, but I go through the list very quickly and it's whoever answers first. So I made sure I saved her number on my phone so I knew I knew who it was going to be when she called, and I answered immediately and I said yes immediately. So I only had to wait a couple months to get in there, and then I was able to expand pretty quickly too. She had another space open up right next door to my existing one, like 2 months later, and I just happened to be in there revamping my space when that space emptied out, and I was like, "Hey, can I have that too?" And she was like, "Yep, I hadn't even called anybody yet, but since you're here, sure." So sometimes it's just being in the right place at the right time and being the person that answers the call first, and so yeah, I really enjoy that. It's a great way to get rid of that, 25 and under stuff. And like Sean said, the really highly breakable or bigger items too. That's absolutely what I put in there as well. And it's stuff I really don't want to mess with shipping.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love
On the
it.
hunt with Jen said having a booth is a dream of hers. Mine too, Jen. But mine was very similar to yours, except for I wasn't as lucky to get a call. They said that their booths fill up super quick.
Yeah.
I've put an application 3 times, I think, and no luck. But I'm going to keep trying. Can you tell us where are you in the world? I forgot to ask that towards the beginning. That's usually something that Bob asks.
Yeah, I'm in Central Oregon.
Oh, okay.
So when you think of like most people think of Oregon and think, like that green state that's real rainy and all of that. I actually live in Central Oregon where we're kind of a high desert environment. So it's about 3,000 plus elevation, and it's a desert type environment. Like, we're surrounded by desert. We have 300 plus days a year of sunshine. It gets real hot in the summer, and then it gets really, really, really cold in the winter. So, but it's beautiful here. I love it.
Yeah, I've been to Oregon, but not in the desert. So that's
Yeah,
definitely
most people
what
don't
came
even
to my
know that
mind.
there's most people don't even know that there's desert in Oregon, and what's funny is like almost half the state is actually desert.
I did not know that. So
Yeah.
you learn geographical stuff every day.
Yeah.
How How many times do you usually visit the booth to like reorganize, or what does maintenance look like for that?
Yeah,
Like,
two, sometimes 3 times a week. I pop in there. It's in the same town as me, so it's real easy. For me to just pop in. I live in a fairly small town, so going, even though it's on the other end of town, that's like 7 minutes away. So a lot of times if I'm doing my circuit of post office and thrift store and all that, I'll pop in at the booth too and see what's going on. And every time I go into, this is my little hack for remembering remembering what's sold, because they're not automated. So they don't have any kind, like literally they handwrite the receipts. Okay.
oh,
It's old school. Okay.
yeah.
So for me to be able to know what sold, I either have to remember what was in that spot that's now empty. But what I do is every time I go in and restock, I take a real close video of everything. So then when I go in the next time, there's an empty spot and I don't remember what was there. I just go back and look at the video. Oh, okay. Yep. That's what sold. Cool. So
Wow. Okay, that makes it a little bit different.
yeah.
I've
Yeah.
never done that, but I've done like consigners, so everything's like electronic. So
Right.
kind of
No, this is like, it's a huge, 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 antique mall, and definitely gets the most traffic of any of them. And I think there's only 2 or 3 in town total. This one it's been there forever, decades, and gets the most traffic. It's in a great location, but they are not in any way, shape, or form automated. We get a handwritten check for our payout. The receipts are handwritten,
we go
like,
back with the checks.
yeah, it's
Steven's
wild.
thrifting journey says, "You got this." Hey, Steven,
Hey.
welcome in. Thank you for being here.
Welcome.
So
I
I
think I saw.
saw on Facebook you recently sold a $5,000 mug. I want to hear the story about the $5,000 mug.
Isn't that
Tell
crazy?
us. Yeah, I was glad.
So I wish that I could say that that was my find, but it was not. A dear friend of mine was gifted that mug. A friend of hers had passed away. The family invited her to come and take what she wanted, go through her stuff and find things that she wanted. And she didn't know what it was, but she just had a feeling that it was special. Um, she did some research and then she called me because she's not a reseller. And she was like, she tried to do it on her own at first, but because she's not a reseller, she doesn't have a reputation as, she didn't have any feedback, she didn't have any selling history, so she wasn't having any luck trying to sell it on her own. So she asked me, we talked, and I think actually I might have just offered, and said, hey, I'll let you, she was trying to raise money to help put her daughter through college, for college tuition starting in the fall. And, I want to help. She's a very dear friend of mine. We've been friends for years. And, I was like, yeah, well, let's do this. So we did the research. We discovered that this mug per se, it was a Russian. It's actually a tea cup holder, so it wasn't actually the cup. It was the cup that you put the cup inside of, and then it had the matching spoon, and it was from the oh gosh, there was some like empire or something, Russian something, imperial, I think, empire. I don't remember now. We did all the research, right? And then we discovered it had engraving on the inside. So it was engraved 1915 on the inside. It had very special markings on the mug that made it very, very desirable. And beautiful enamel, just stunning piece. And I figured it was probably like a museum piece.
Russian
And
Imperial, says Kelly.
yeah, yes. And so yeah, so I decided to put it on auction. I don't do a whole lot on auction, but anytime it's something special, something rare like that, I'm going to go ahead and put it on auction just to see. The hope is that you'll get a bidding war, but that doesn't always happen. But I started at minimum bid at $4,999.99. And unfortunately, there wasn't a bidding war, but we actually were absolutely thrilled with the person who did bid on it at the very last second. Of course.
We were debating that
Um,
purchase.
when you get that, we all know what the red flag people are, but have you ever gotten those green flag buyers where you just like they're green flags the whole way, and that's what this guy was. He was just all green flags. He was so nice. He was so kind. He was so well informed and educated about the item. He immediately put both of us at ease. Like, I knew there was not going to be any kind of scam attempt or, return attempt or whatever. I could tell immediately this guy was legit. He knew what he was talking about. He, shared some of his history with us, and it was just amazing. So the piece will end up in a museum someday. He and his wife are both highly educated around Russian artifacts and things of that nature. And they spend their time and money purchasing items and then eventually donating them to museums in New York.
amazing,
So,
wow.
yeah, it was really, really cool. So my friend got the majority of that sale. I did get a little bit for my time and, my reputation and my use of, my site for it. But the majority of that went to help put her daughter through college this year. So that was really cool.
I love that. I have a 15-year-old, so I'm looking at reselling to put my kid through college.
Right?
I saw your packaging. Is either a post or a video of you packaging up. You want to tell everyone how you packaged the thing up? Because I think it could have been ran over by a tank. The way you had it packaged up.
I love that.
Yeah, no, that was taking no chances. Even though it really, yes, there was some fragility to it with the enamel, but it wasn't glass. The inside of the cup was silver, and the outside was enameled. So pretty sturdy. But I used pool noodles and cellophane and bubble wrap and double boxed each piece. And yeah, that thing wasn't gonna get damaged at all. No way, no how.
Wow. That's awesome. Okay. Well, do you have any other questions, Sean?
I always like to hear people's goals because I'm a big goal-oriented person. So I just like to hear other people's just goals, reselling goals, personal goals. What's your goals for this year and going forward?
Well, I had goals in the beginning of the year. I don't like to set New Year's resolutions. I like to set goals. And so, they're probably the same thing, but whatever. I don't like the whole concept of resolutions. New year, new me, that. I'm like, let's just, do our best and try to do better than we did the year before. And that was, mainly my goal. I really wanted to hit 100K in sales on eBay. I don't think that's going to happen. So with the shift towards my content and focusing more on content, during the beginning parts of that, the beginning of the year, my reselling suffered from me spending too much time on the content side. And so, now I'm finding the balance now and getting back to, it was like I had this realization, especially when I was in the place where I really wasn't earning very much at all with the monetization on Facebook. It was like, why am I focusing all this attention on content when reselling is what's actually paying the bills, and the content wasn't at the time. Um, so that's when I made kind of a shift with, it was like probably about March or April or somewhere in there, somewhere between March and April, May ish was when I made a shift with my content. I started, went away from trying to be like the reseller educator, sharing all my tips and tricks and whatever, and spending so much time on my content, to just making it more like the thrifting videos. Because I'm going to go thrifting anyway. That's part of my reselling. And I could double dip there a lot easier and not have to spend as much time on the content. But, unfortunately, my reselling took a hit with all the time I was focused on the content. What ended up happening was that's when my page really kind of took off. When I got away from doing as much with the all the variety of things that I was posting and just honed in on one thing and started posting almost nothing but thrifting videos, that's when my page just grew by leaps and bounds and I started making a lot more money with it. And then my reselling, started doing better too. So, because I was focusing more attention on that. So as, it's a really long answer to a short question, as, like, what are my goals? I've had to rethink that, several times throughout the year. So I don't think I'm going to hit the goal of 100K. In my first year, I was really close to 75K, which I think is pretty good for a first year reseller.
Oh, that's amazing.
So could I have, done that this year? Had I done nothing but reselling? Yeah, I think so, absolutely. But when you put the content in there and have, basically one person trying to do almost two full-time jobs, and then battle with burnout and all of that, too. That it took a hit and I had to, kind of rethink some things and uh, do a little realignment with everything. And so I that's still my goal. Whether I hit it or not, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I think probably not, but we'll see. I mean, we've got some of the busiest
Quarter
times.
four can be wild. You never know what's going to happen in quarter four.
Wild. So yeah, we'll see what happens. So,
well, here's hoping.
right,
I can actually relate to what you just said. I feel like making content has taken away a little bit from my sales as well, because the time I spend on content, and I could probably throw an extra $100, $200 worth of listings per day instead of making content. But I kind of look at it as I'm building something for the future that could turn into something that could outperform or at least be a decent portion of my revenue from content. Right now it's not, but so I look at it as I'm building something for the future. But right now I'm sure I am taking a hit on my sales, because anytime I'm not doing reselling related stuff, obviously I'd be making more money reselling in the time I'm making content. So I agree. I can relate completely to what you're saying. So
it's an investment, the content. And this is, I definitely have taken some heat from some family members who were like, why are you spending all this time doing this thing that's not paying you? And it was like, it's the investment in the opportunity of what could be. And I owe that, knowing about that, to other creators who have been transparent and have shown the possibilities. People like Steven's thrifting journey. And he's a big one. I don't know if he's still in here, but he is a big one that I've looked up to, because, and he has shared, he doesn't go around bragging about how much he makes, but he does share some of that information and is transparent about that enough to where it's like, what, that's a real possibility, and that part of me that can't help but say, why not me?
I agree. I feel the same way.
It's like, why can't I do that? Like if he can, why can't I? So, I think I just always have had that thing in me that's like, well, okay, cool. Now I'm gonna try it too. So, it is though. It's a time investment. Um, and but and hopefully someday it pays off. And I mean, it already is. That's the thing. And I enjoy it too. And is it paying all the bills? No, but it is it's a significant enough amount now to
Mhm.
where it is really helping. So,
That's
you
great.
know yeah, like the last 2 months in a row there was a comma in my payout. That was a huge deal to me. Okay.
Yeah. I've never had a comment in my monthly payout, so
Hey.
What? Seriously?
Jen
That's
said,
wild to me. Oh my gosh, there won't be this month. Okay, we're almost to the end of the month, and I will say this month didn't do as well, but the previous 2 months there was, and I was thrilled with that. So,
love that. Looks like you've got a fan. All of this, I haven't made it quote yet, but without your guidance and advice, I wouldn't have had my 100K video on Facebook. That's On the Hunt with Jen.
oh, so
smiling.
excited for her.
Yeah.
Yes. I
You
don't
guys are
claim to
doing it.
know. Yeah, I don't. I mean, this is the thing, I'll tell people what I've done, and what has worked for me, but I don't claim to know it all. I don't try to, like, I don't know. I just feel like everybody has to do what works for them. I'm
Mhm.
happy to share what has worked for me, but I'm also the first one to tell you when I've made mistakes, I've done things totally the wrong way. Especially with the content in the beginning, I was just flailing. None of us knew what the heck we were doing. There was no guideline. There was no 300K challenge to get monetized. We all were just throwing noodles at the wall, hoping something would stick. You know?
Well, I like what you said because I don't think that you have to be a guru to share or post, right? And I don't remember if this was Storage Auction Pirate or Wade Sven Cruz that said this in season 1. You don't have to necessarily always be informative. You just have to document. Just document what you're doing, and you're doing it.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And in fact, for me, I've really gotten away from, I used to post a lot more, trying to, educational reseller content, and I've gotten away from that. Not because I don't think I know anything, because I do think I do have I have valuable knowledge. But I feel like for me, being pretty new, under 2 years, first of all, who am I to be, who am I to be telling other people how to do it? But also, there's so many different variables. You know, each person has a different circumstance and lives in a different area and has a different market and different things available to them and different, space available to them. And, like there's so many variables. It's not a cookie cutter business.
Mm-hmm.
And you can learn a ton by watching other people and learn what to look for. But like somebody was telling me, well, like, I never find Carhartt where I live. I find it all the time because I live in a rural area where that's all anybody wears out here is Carhartt, so I find tons of it. But in certain parts of the country it can't be found. you know Certain kinds of glassware I never find out here because I'm all the way in Oregon, and that glassware was all Midwest stuff. That I hardly ever find that stuff. So it's just there's so many variables. So when I made the switch to kind of make things easier for myself and just focus on, here's what I found at the thrift store today. Oh, look at this thing. Oh, look, here's how much it was. Would you buy it? I was really kind of taking a break from the intense content and getting too in depth and trying to teach and all of that, and just trying to keep it simple. And then that's when it kind of blew up. So I was like, oh, okay,
That worked. Love
I'm
it.
gonna keep doing that.
All right. Well, usually around this time in the podcast, we like to ask our guests, I don't know if you've watched before, who you would like to see on the Launchpad Reseller Podcast. Anyone in mind?
Oh my goodness. Oh. Hmm. Um, let's see here. Well, I don't know about like who you should have on the podcast. I'm going to tell you some of the people that have inspired me. And whether or not these are people that are on your short list for to have on the podcast or not, then cool. So Steven's thrifting journey is one of them, for sure. Um, Bearded Thrifter is another one. Um, let's see here. Oh my gosh, why am I like just completely drawing blanks? Um, Pickin' It Easy. So Walt from Pickin' It Easy, he's a good buddy of mine. He, has definitely inspired me to, um, just there's so many. Oh gosh, Tuition Ain't Cheap. So I think Amanda from Tuition Ain't Cheap, she's one that I follow. I just sold 3 root touch-up, L'Oreal root touch-up things that I found at the thrift store for $1.50 each, and they sold for $150. That was thanks to her.
Nice. I love
Yes,
her too.
right? Those discontinued hair care products. I'm telling you, there's some money there. So, people like that I've learned a lot from, but I've also learned a lot from some of the smaller, people too. So, I think, gosh, I'm trying to think who else. I'm missing people, and I'm gonna feel terrible afterwards and be like, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned you. So
No.
I'm just gonna leave it at that. And,
Yeah, that's all right. I think you said
those are
Stephen first, so I'm gonna do an official call out.
Oh.
Stephen. It's
Steven's
what is
thrifting
it?
journey.
Thrifting with Stephen, right?
Steven's thrifting journey.
Oh, Stephen's thrifting journey. What do you
Yeah.
say? Will you join us on the Launchpad Reseller Podcast? And I'm going to also reach out to the rest that you mentioned. So
Yeah, I look up to them as resellers, but also as content creators. The kind of the whole package and the sharing, honestly and openly, transparently, and being real. That's really important to me. Like I don't want to watch people that I feel like that's fake or that's not, or that they're looking down on other people or all about ego or image and stuff like that. That's not what I'm about at all. So those are ones that I really appreciate. So
I love that. And that's what we try to encompass here too. Collaboration over competition. There is space at the table. There's a seat at the table for everybody. So
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Appreciate that. Sean,
and you already had Bevo, so Bevo's covered. So he's a buddy of mine too. I love that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. All right, we're gonna go to final thoughts. Sean, got anything?
It just related to a lot what you said about content creation, because I kind of started off just doing like how to and teaching people tips and stuff on there, and you eventually felt like I've made a video on everything, and I just kind of ran out of tips. So I kind of just show some flea market videos and go and try to more inspiring kind of videos is kind of my goal. But I kind of started off the same way trying to do tips. So I just kind of resonated a lot with that because I started off the same way as you did.
Yeah. Yeah, you do kind of run out of it's not super often that something new and big, comes up, It's
I can only show people how to use calculated shipping or free shipping on there so many times, even though I still get that DM daily.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can recycle some stuff, but your longtime people are going to get tired of that after a while.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can see why you are so successful. You are very community oriented, Allie. We appreciate you being on. Thank you for sharing your story and your journey with us. And we hope to kind of be in contact, right? In the future, follow each other, keep up with each other and all of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate y'all, and looking forward to continuing to watch both of your journeys as well. Appreciate you.
Same as well.
Thank you.
Let me make sure I get the right outro because I messed up yesterday. Here it is. That's going to be all for tonight. I appreciate it. Just remember, here goes Bob's line. If you can't be good at it.